Hello, everybody. I hope you recovered from the first show I did this afternoon. Thank you for joining us here. Um, you see the title, but it's going to be a little bit of a different show tonight. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But before I let Nick Bliss, or do you prefer Nick?
Either one's fine.
Okay, before I let Nick introduce himself again, um, we're gonna get some bills paid. First off, I don't know why I just never remember this, but I forgot the little but visit CornelWest2024.com. You can still learn about the campaign that was launched and definitely make a donation. There's some small little debts that the campaign incurred that need to be satisfied. So your contribution will definitely go to use, and we won't waste our money, or the money won't be wasted on bringing in celebrities for 3-minute endorsements. So we guarantee that won't happen. Remember to subscribe. Listen here, I have beg people. 300. I am 3 away because somebody subscribed. I need 3 people. You don't have to watch the shows always, but I would prefer that you watch them. But subscribe. I want to get to 300 by the year's end. It can happen. We can do this. Subscribing literally costs nothing. You can always support me on Patreon. Patreon support starts at $2 a month. That's 50 cents a week. That goes for buying better lights, which I desperately need. Some podcasting equipment I want to get. Remember, I am having a Christmas show, and I did not spell Christmas right. Yes, I did. It's going to be December the 25th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll talk about Christmas toys, Christmas movies, the meaning of Christmas. It's going to be an hour and a half full of very, 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 very much going to have some fun that day. My New Year's Eve show, the 3rd year in a row I have done a New Year's Eve show. It's going to be 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to count down to 2025 and count down to Project 2025 coming to fruition. We will have a special show. I'll highlight what happened this year, what I think is going to happen next year, and we'll take it from there. The virtual scavenger hunt is February the 1st. $20 is the admission. The goal is to raise $1,500 so that I can get all that equipment that I need in one big swoop. You can like me on Facebook. I'm almost willing to say that nobody follows me on Rumble. I want to start podcasting on, here's the platforms: Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. I can't do Rumble until I get 5 followers. So please follow me on Rumble. I need 3 more people so I can do it. All I need is 3 more. 3 followers and I'm there. You can follow me on Blue Sky. If you can't get that address, just go to Blue Sky's app and type in hi, HIITS, me, Tracy. So, hi, it's me, Tracy. That's my tag name on Blue Sky. And help us to get to 25 likes and 15 shares. This campaign is going very, very well. So just continue to do that. We got Nelson in the house. Nelson, it's going fantastic. Hope you're doing well. Glad to see you. 70 days from now, the Justice is Here podcast will make its debut. Looking forward to that, learning about what the Justice for All Party is doing in terms of overthrowing the 2-party system. And that is it for all of my 10,000 announcements. But Nick, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I was checking all those things while you were going along. I shared your channel to my Twitter. It said to to subscribe. I was trying to remember if I had a Rumble account, but apparently I don't, because I tried to. I was like, oh, I'll log in and I'll try to follow, because I know somebody shared something on Rumble, but I don't even have an account. So maybe I'll set one up and try to follow you.
Yes, do that, please. Because I only need like 5. I don't want to pay the fee because, money is a little tight. And I don't want to pay because YouTube, I don't have to pay. I have to pay for StreamYard. But I don't want to pay for Rumble when I'm not paying for
any
YouTube.
more than you have to.
Exactly. Well, I said that this show is going to be titled Top 10 Moments of the Cornel West Campaign. And we'll kind of hit those. But I want to talk about something different. And that is how our system is bought out by campaign contributions that are not coming from regular, ordinary people.
Right.
If you talk to the Democrats, let me say this about the Democrats, because this has been on my mind for a long time. The Democratic Party will literally tell you that the second Aunt Viv on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was way better than the first one. That's the kind of BS that the Democratic Party throws out. They will literally say, well, the second one, she was dramatic. Everybody with common sense knows the first Aunt Viv was the better one. Clearly, not the Democratic Party. I haven't
thought about that in a minute. So it's that's an interesting one. I have not heard that personally from anybody in the Democratic Party, but I believe you.
They would be like, well, she's much better. She's dramatic. Well, they tried to tell you to condone genocide. Like, oh, okay, sure.
I mean, they tried to tell me Kamala was a good candidate, so that was not true. She lost.
Didn't the knives come out when she lost? I kept telling people she's going to lose. She's going to lose. This isn't going to work for you.
I wasn't as sure as you, Tracy, but
I was.
I knew I wasn't going to vote for her.
I mean,
I wasn't going to vote for either of them, So I knew that right away. I voted for Biden. That was the worst mistake I ever made.
Mine
starting
was
a genocide.
I think me voting for.
And I already spent years breaking from the two-party system, and then for some reason I decided to put my foot back in and just make a terrible decision, like rejoining the duopoly briefly. And I was like, this is the worst decision I've ever made, and it makes you feel really really bad. You feel real gross because there's this genocide going on, and you've elected, you've been contributed to putting this person in power who's carrying this out,
and makes no apologies for it. That's the
not
worst
at all.
No apologies. No, we really want to, get a ceasefire as fast as we possibly can.
Well, I mean, sometimes they say that, but they're definitely not doing that. If you look at what's actually going on, they're giving their 100% blessing to everything that's going on. We just saw another person quit from the federal government. I think it was covered on Democracy Now! And other places, where they said they kept sending notes over there to Blinken and other people. They're killing children. They're killing lots of children. They're committing war crimes, and they just continue to support Israel no matter what happens. So,
but with Trump, it'll be a lot worse. Somebody actually tried to
supposedly
make that argument, and I'm like, okay, let's just say it is worse. Let's just say he does worse. That makes it okay that the Biden-Harris administration is doing it. Like, you're really okay. I've heard people say things like, well, they're over there and I'm over here.
Well, it's going to be over here. I mean, it's already over here in some ways, but it's going to be over here in a big way if we don't do something to stop it wherever it is in the world. Genocide is not something that just ends. War is not something that just ends. There's a response to that war. There's young people that have grown up without parents that are going to be, I would think quite bitter about what's happened, and those people that are responsible for such a disaster and a calamity for society and the globe, as well as, obviously specifically for the people experiencing it. And, it's absolutely unconscionable, that we find ourselves in this position, trying to decide who's going to be carrying out the worst genocide. Is it going to be Trump, or is it going to be Biden and Kamala or the Democratic Party? It's like, if you look at pictures, Palestine has already been demolished. Every university, we were just talking at this event I was at tonight, every university has been demolished. Every university has been destroyed. talking to a friend of mine who was thinking about studying, who's a Palestinian who was going to study in Palestine, in Gaza, either remotely or in person, and the university isn't even there anymore. It's this kind of thing. It's ridiculous to say, to have gradations of genocide. Oh, this is a bad genocide. This is a not so bad genocide. And to put yourself in that position, it destroys your own morality, to make those kinds of ridiculous distinctions, I think, if you claim to have any morality.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's two things I'll say to that. One is I make the point to people, if they'll do it to Palestinians, what do you think they'll do to you?
Right. Exactly.
There's an old saying, and I don't remember who said it, when they came for the Jews,
exactly.
I didn't say anything. When they came for this group, I didn't say anything. But finally, they came for me, and there was no one to speak for me.
Exactly.
That could very well happen.
No, it's true. It is happening. It's happening right now.
It actually is happening right now, and that's why I wanted to talk about money and politics, because that's really what's giving this war. And not only that one, Ukraine, I could say the same thing about Ukraine. I could say the same thing about Sudan. I could say the same thing about Syria. I could say the same thing about, just pick a country.
Right.
Um,
That's exactly right.
Our government, well, no, let me take a step back. So, and I know you're going to disagree with me on this, and this will be a good discussion.
All right.
I did a show Tuesday about this. If you all don't know, of course you do know, you should know by now that Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, was shot by, and I'm just going to call him Luigi because I can't pronounce his last name. He's just Luigi. That's who he is. That's what I'm going to call him. Be done with it. And for some reason, either corporate media is very stupid or they're complicit. I think it's a little bit of both. They just couldn't understand why people were sharing stories of United and Anthem and others denying health care and how that's problematic and the need for Medicare for all.
Yeah, well, I'm going to jump in. I'm actually going to, now that we have you said Brian Thompson shot. So now that we have the FBI listening and, all the other, 3-letter agencies, I'm going to introduce myself real quick. My name is Nicholas Shillingford. I'm out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Worked on the Cornel West campaign here, was one of the co-leads of the campaign. I am a nurse. I've been active in the labor, anti-war movement, and other social justice movements here in Minneapolis for almost 20 years. And I have a podcast, Socialist News and Views podcast, comes out every Thursday in audio formats, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, and cover a lot of good stuff that's going on in Minneapolis and a lot of stuff that's going on around the country and around the world. But I try to make it have a good local angle whenever possible. And yeah, this is a huge issue, and this is an issue that I've covered on my program significantly, but never really enough because it's a huge issue. In fact, I want to dig a little bit into the crypto piece of it at some point because somebody was talking to me about that at a conference, and I thought it was kind of fascinating. But yeah, that's why. I mean, that's the whole reason the duopoly doesn't work for us is that it's completely bought out by big money and these companies and billionaires, as we've seen. Some people have said that Elon Musk is the new president of the United States, and Trump is just his. I think in one meme it said his wife or something like that. But they were calling Elon Musk the new president, and Trump was kind of like the first lady. But anyway, I mean, it's these billionaires, these corporations are the reason, to grab another meme, the reason we can't have nice things. They fund these $1 billion campaigns, like Kamala's $1 billion campaign, where she still left $20 million in the hole. These are not campaigns about regular people. Think about what you could do with $1 billion to work for ending homelessness, ending poverty, feeding everybody in the country. But instead, they're using that to basically just talk about how great the Democratic Party is, even when they fail to do the most basic
Basic.
basic politics, which is to deliver something to the people that you represent, which they are failing to do. The people that they're delivering for are the people that give them all this money to run these lavish campaigns, essentially basically set up their whole own concert with all their favorite headliners. They just get to, be there, then they get to speak at the concert and talk about how great they are, and literally talk about delivering no policies for American people. We've seen that on both sides, really. I mean, Trump will trot something out there every once in a while, but he rolls it back just as quickly sometimes. But for the most part, he's just tooting his own horn and talking about how great he is and he's the only person who can save us. That's really what we're hearing from both sides. And it's because of that, because we've allowed them to divide us into these two camps where, we think that there's only this one or only this one can save us. While behind the scenes, they're taking their money to the bank. Crypto was part of Kamala's plan for young black men on her 5-point plan that was absolutely ridiculous. People should look it up. But yeah, crypto is a big piece of that. And that's because these crypto millionaires and probably billionaires are pouring money into these campaigns. They're the ones that control what the campaign can and can't speak about, which is why we need independent campaigns, however we do that, to demand that people's needs are listened to. Whether it's healthcare, just these prices are, everybody is having trouble affording even groceries and daily needs. You were talking about the genocide or the war coming to the United States, and it's like we saw Hurricane Helene destroy tons of states in the southeast of this country, and it's not even in the news anymore. I was just talking to a friend in Tennessee who wasn't even in the main path of Helene, really. It was like very much like the edge of the real bad areas. And it's like they're talking about 6 years before they can rebuild, have a lot of the stuff rebuilt, these towns and stuff. And that's in the United States, and they're not even talking about that. The news hasn't even, I can't even remember the last time the news covered something about the devastation from Hurricane Helene. There's tons of people that are suffering in this country, and that's what Cornel West was speaking to, with his campaign, was the absolute suffering that's going on in the United States and around the world right now. And I think any politician that wants to be successful should be speaking to that.
Here's where I'm going to I agree with what you're saying, but here's my caveat.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to be successful.
Right.
Because if you think about it, and for all the people who say, "Oh, you're a Republican," okay, I guess if you're, say whatever you want, because I literally don't care. You should already know by now I despise both parties, but I am harder on the Democrats because Republicans will tell me to my face, "I don't want you to have voters' rights. All lives matter." I know what they think. The Democrats pretend and put on these masks and will say, "Oh, we want the war in Gaza to stop," but won't do the main thing to make the war stop, which is stop giving them money. That's the answer, right? And I think we have to, I don't know how to educate the public on this, because most people know what's happening. Like most people, if you talk to most people, especially non-voters, they know the system is terrible. They know that when a politician says something, they're lying. Does anybody really believe that if Harris was elected president, that she was going to build 3 million houses? Do you really believe that? No, you shouldn't. And you shouldn't believe Trump when he said, "Oh, I'm going to do something about the food prices." And then he gets elected. Well, I really can't bring them down, which we already knew. But my point is, they don't want to succeed because we don't buy them, right? We don't give them enough money for them to care about us. We aren't contributing $50 and $60 million. I think the widow of, I want to say Fox News, and that's not right, Adelson, I can't call her name, but she gave almost $90 million. Are you kidding me? What does the presidency of the United States pay? Maybe 500. Let's just say it pays 500,000. I think it's 450, but let's just say it's 500,000. You're spending 90 million. 90 million. You could build literally 50 million homes. No, matter of fact, let's see. If you took 90, yeah, you could literally build 50 million homes for $90 million. You could end food deserts. You could build a hospital let me backtrack. You could build a clinic. You could build a school, a public school, not charter schools, because I got problems with charter schools, but that's not this show. There's so many other options, but instead you buy politicians so that you can get tax breaks. And I wish that Americans would stop being scared of voting third party. It's like, stop. Nobody's going to be in that booth with you when you vote. You can go in there and vote third party and walk out. You don't have to. And I think that's the thing. I think people are scared because they think, well, these are the only two choices I have. I'm going to get screwed one way or the other, so I might as well pick the one that's less. Well, no, you're still getting worked over.
Right, and I think the other piece that we should add is, I think we mostly agree, on this piece of, that the billionaires and these corporate people control our system of government, and that they're in charge of these politicians that we have in both of these parties. But the thing is that, now we have elected one of these people. Trump is going to become president January 20th. We shouldn't let any of these people off the hook. And the way that we actually get the things that we need, that we deserve, is it's working people, poor people moving into struggle, demanding that we deserve these things that we need. And I think it's important to say that, even though he rolled it back, Trump is not correct that, politicians could do a lot of things about grocery prices. One example a very stringent example would be price controls. Even in countries like Japan, which is not a capitalist country, which is not a socialist country or anything like that, it is certainly well within the sphere of capitalism. They have price controls on a lot of their healthcare in the country, which is the way that they're able to keep their healthcare costs under control, is that you can only charge a set amount for different healthcare things, healthcare items or procedures within the country. So that's something that you could also do with other things. Food is an extremely important thing. Everybody requires food, so it would not at all be ridiculous to put a price control on food. But even beyond that, if you didn't think price controls were appropriate, we should demand that, any of these food companies that are making lots of money, we significantly tax their profits, and then we use that money to make sure that anybody who does not have a large income coming in or is on a fixed income absolutely gets access to healthy, nutritious food. We can make sure that we subsidize their ability to buy food at the very least. So, those suffering the most amongst us are able to get the food that they need to live a dignified, healthy life. And that's what politicians should be doing. So we shouldn't let any of these politicians, whether you got a Democrat governor or Republican governor in your state, you shouldn't be letting any of these politicians off the hook. They need to be working for us. They need to be delivering things for us. And we should not be seeing the suffering that we see in our communities now. We need to be organizing to end it. And I think people are ready to do it potentially, but they don't know what to do necessarily.
I think that's the big problem, right? Because you said it. It's like people. Another reason the Democratic Party makes me sick. When you know what the solution is,
right?
It's literally right there in front of your face. Anybody can tell you. And I'm going to use healthcare because, again, I want to tie it back to the murder of Brian Thompson. I am not for violence. I don't want nobody here because I said this Tuesday, because I said that's the wrong path. That's not how we're going to get healthcare in this country. You can't go all vigilante. And of course, Luigi is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. However, United denying 1 out of 3 claims is a fact. Anthem had proposed anti-anesthesia in some cases and only reneged it when public outcry was like, you're going to do what? I think what happens is, again, people know the answer, but they're just scared to move. They're scared to make that initial step because it's not easy to be an organizer. I'll tell you that right now. It, there's a whole lot of lonely nights, and you could be married or in a relationship or whatever, but there's a lot of lonely nights. There's a lot of times you're in conversations with people and it's just like it's over their head. You can tell that you're over their head because they're looking at you like, what are you talking about? You're always the person at holiday dinners that nobody wants to invite because they know you're going to bring up either genocide, healthcare, you're going to bring up something, right? You're that person. But I wish I knew how to better communicate, because I think I would tell people you need to make some noise. And whether that's boycotting, which I think that's probably most effective. You hit them in that pocketbook, oh, they gonna change their mind real quick. Oh, they gonna change their mind real quick. Old school protesting, new school. I don't know the answer to how to organize, and I wish I knew it because I don't know it.
I mean, I think there's, I think the best method for anybody to apply, in my estimation, is to, think about where you're at right now. You got to think about, what's in your environment, what things do you want to change in your environment, and then you got to think about what skills you have. That's always a nice way to plug in. So think about, whether it's, maybe you're good at knitting, or you're good at, making phone calls, or, I mean, there's a million, cooking, whatever it is. And then you can think about how you can plug in, so like, not everybody is like right on the front line. We need people on the front line. We need to be building that whole process from, protest, boycott, direct action, all that stuff. But we need to have all the supporting pieces as well. And so again, if there's a protest or there's an event coming up, you could like cook something up. You could bring, snacks down to support folks. You can bring warm clothes down to support folks. If there's an occupation or a direct action in your community, you could support it that way. A strike, a boycott. So all these things it's correct. That is the way that we fight, and I think it's a more effective tactic than violence. Violence is not my way, but I don't really, go around condemning people on it too much, especially the people that are being oppressed, people that are experiencing violence and suffering. But I think, a more effective way, and a way that'll get more people involved, is, the mass boycott, the mass protest, the mass march, mass direct action can be pretty amazing if you can get it on that level for direct action. But yeah, it looks like we got to.
Yeah, I was going to read this after you got done talking.
Go for it. I want to hear.
Nelson says it's so difficult to know that if only Cornel West were to be elected president, something would have been done to help the Palestinian people. Absolutely. Because there's this one thing that the president has. It's called veto power. See, nobody want to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about two things that the president has at his and eventually hers arsenal. The president has the bully pulpit. Now, telling people that the president has the bully pulpit seems like this fascinating new idea. And it's like, he can do that? Because we've only had male presidents, not female. Yes, the president can get on this thing called Air Force One, tour the country, and talk about why they, in this case would be Cornel West, vetoed the bill to give Israel more money. And I think a lot of people would support it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big piece. Just the idea that speaking and, being the president and having that platform can lead to a significant amount of change. I mean, just look at right now. They claim that the whole spending bill that was just in the legislature was tanked because Trump, who isn't even the president, and Elon Musk, who also isn't the president, is not scheduled to be the president, that they tanked it just by talking about the funding bill and how they didn't support it. That basically they led to its collapse. And just think about if somebody who actually is the president does have the power to veto a bill, as well as many other powers, executive powers. Just imagine if they were to talk about in a significant way the importance of one particular course of action, ending a genocide, ending a war, ending poverty. Just imagine how powerful that would be. And yeah, I think that's the idea. They face backlash, but I think Cornel is positioned to stand up to that.
And you know who they would face backlash from? The politicians. Because like I said, I think the public would be in favor of that, right?
Yeah. They would get backlash from Israel itself, probably in the form of terrorism
we gotta
or
do
something.
whatever,
I wouldn't be surprised.
We gotta do whatever Israel says. I mean, they're way over there. Like somebody said, they're over there. Look, dude, see, you're lucky it's not me. Because first of all, if Cornel West was elected president, I'm calling every Democrat I know and laughing in their face straight up, ha ha ha, just what you get. Because that's how petty I keep my petty. But I know that on some level, I don't think people think change is possible.
No, it's true. I think that is true.
Yeah, if you look at just the healthcare, I mean, we've been talking about the movement for Medicare for all or socialized medicine or universal healthcare has been going on for over 100 years in this country. Mm-hmm. And people are just now starting to catch on to the idea.
Yeah, like I said, I was telling you, I've been doing this organizing and stuff for some time, but again, I put my foot back in that duopoly space briefly after the first few years of the pandemic and other stuff going on. But I was going to say that I remember organizing for single payer. I was just telling somebody this story the other day that we were outside one of the first Obama rallies when he was president, and he came to Minnesota, I believe, came to St. Paul or somewhere, and we were organizing for single payer, saying that he should push for single payer, which he had actually said he supported in the past. But anyway, this young guy got mad at me, and he crumpled up the flyer, and he's like, "You're against Obama," and he chucked the flyer at me or whatever. And it was like, people had a lot of illusions in Obama when he first came to power in the United States, when he first became president of the United States. But I don't think, we saw that people were voting against Trump when they voted for Biden, but I don't think people have that kind of illusion in the Democratic Party anymore. Even if they vote for them, they still see it as like harm reduction, not as like something positive. Whereas I think back with the Obama years, there was actually like some hope for change through that process. I think nobody thinks that's the way that we get the change done anymore. Although, yeah, like you said, they're scared. They're not quite sure how do we do it. And so again, I think that's why we should encourage people to plug in at the level they're ready to plug in. Dropping off some food, is like it's a low bar. There's a low danger to yourself. And, it can be really helpful to sustaining those movements when they spring up.
Yeah.
From Occupy to Black Lives Matter to the Palestine Solidarity Movement.
Yep. And and to your point, I don't know if everybody knows, but there are Amazon warehouses that are on strike now.
Right.
You could simply take them something warm to drink.
Yep, absolutely.
That's all you gotta do is
super supportive. It's super important.
Thermos. I don't want to call them thermostats, but I'll call them thermos.
Okay.
Put some, because I never remember what they're called. Like they're the things, they keep the cold stuff cold and they keep the hot stuff hot. That thing. You could do that. You could do something that was hard for me to do. Stop going to Starbucks. Oh, y'all don't know how hard that was.
Yeah.
Y'all do not know how hard that was, but I did it. I found local coffee shops that I go to now. They're a little higher, but that's okay. I was like, okay, you can do things. Trust me, there are things you could do. You could get online banking instead of banking with Chase and Wells Fargo and I can't think of the big banks, Citibank.
It's true.
You could do, there's so many options you could do, but I think it always starts with one step.
I switched to a credit union during Occupy. There was like the call, and it seemed like a lot of people, I think you can realize something is like a significant movement when people that that aren't very political, they start coming to you and asking you about it. That it's started to make, a big splash, a big wave in the general consciousness And I think that's what happened with Occupy, was people were, getting curious about it even outside of those circles. I think, there's been a few times with like Starbucks stuff where I've heard that, that's happened a little bit. So that's really reached that level, I think, which is impressive for Starbucks workers. Black Lives Matter obviously was like a massive movement that, that kind of ricocheted out across the whole world and is still having an impact on the world right now. It was a huge movement. I think it's unfortunate, people think that, and we could do this if we were more powerful, that it should translate directly from like we're on the streets to then like we get whatever we want like the next day.
Yeah,
And we
that's
can do it's possible, but it takes a lot of work, a
but
lot
you
of
got
power.
to do the step that's missing is you got to threaten some folk with they just okay. You want especially Congress people,
right?
And I had to do this. I live in a district. I don't think my congressman has had a public town hall meeting ever since he's gotten elected. This will be his 6th time going back. I can't name 3 things that he's done. I can't name, except for being on the commission to find out if there's aliens. That's your big accomplishment. I mean, that's it. I'm supposed to vote for this. Well, you could get the Republican. Sometimes the Republican might be better.
It's possible. I mean, it just.
I mean, again, they won't be. But I'm just saying.
On what kind of pressure they're under. If they're under pressure, then they might be better. It just depends. If they're, especially in the presidency.
Right.
If we can put a lot of pressure on Trump, he may cave on some things.
I think Trump will cave. And the reason I do is for him, because he's so vain.
That's true.
His popularity, like he wants to feel like he's popular.
That's true.
And if enough people start making noise, he'll turn on a dime.
I hope that's true.
Where Biden is just like, I'm a Zionist. I don't care. I'm going to do this. I don't care. You can say whatever you want to say.
We just got to have our plan worked out. But like I said, I mean, these movements like the Black Lives Matter movement, again, it's still going out. It's still going out into the whole globe and making changes all across the globe. And we still haven't felt the complete power of that movement. In some areas, we didn't get the gains that we wanted. We still have essentially the same police department here in Minneapolis that we had before. It's had a bunch of
kente cloth.
Yeah, they got to wear. That's what they do. That's how they do it.
I'm talking about the co-op. I do want to get to that.
They co-opt everything.
Oh my gosh, they co-opt everything. The Me Too movement.
Yep.
Started out, okay, let's highlight these jerks that are harassing and assaulting women and men. Okay, yep. But as soon as a Democrat got accused, disappeared.
They're not interested, no.
I'm like, oh, so you just wanted to take down Republicans. That's what you're wanting to do. Okay, now I see.
Yep. I mean, that's what they do. They have their little clubs and it's for their little things. That was a huge movement. I mean, here I couldn't even get on the train to get to that first women's march right after Trump was elected. But yeah, if they elect a Democrat, they don't want to hear anything about their particular brand of sexism, sexual harassment, anything like that. A sexual assault, that they're not interested in that if that's a Democrat. But that's why we need to hold these people accountable because they're not going to hold themselves accountable.
They'll sell themselves off to the highest bidder. And that's my whole discussion in terms of money in politics, because that's literally the root of all of this. Mm-hmm. It's why we don't have health care. It's why we have endless wars that are never going to ever end. It's why we have food prices going through the roof. It's why people aren't living in houses. It's the root. It's literally the root. And if I hear one more Democrat, one more of y'all talking about, let's get rid of Citizens United. Let me tell y'all something about Citizens United. Yeah, Nick, you might want to sit back because I'm going to go on a rant.
I want to hear it.
Only the Supreme Court can overturn their decision, right? But what you could do, you got a couple options here. First option is don't take money from PAC groups. I don't know. That might be something. Just do kind of like Bernie did before he sold out. Don't take money from PAC groups. Just don't take them. Dr. West didn't take them.
That's true.
You don't have to take PAC money. Option number one. Option number two, you could pass a law. You could literally have a law passed, but will you do that? No, because
Yep.
because for you, APAC money is more important than Palestinian lives. Blackwater, and I never get the group's name quite, it's either Blackwater or BlackRock. Their contributions are more important than people buying up houses, making the rent so high that nobody can afford it. That's more important to you than homelessness. That's more important to you than food prices going up. That's more important than Amazon not paying taxes, Walmart not paying taxes. But hey, that's just me.
Yeah, BlackRock, I think, is the one that was supporting the Democrats. I'm not sure. Blackwater was the old war mercenary company or whatever. They would go in and do like special missions in Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff like that. They changed their name. But yeah, the asset management company BlackRock is it's BlackRock.
Yeah, I never remember. I'm like, it's
really
called Black
it's
something.
BlackRock and Blackstone are the two big corporations supporting the Democrats and Republicans. One is the biggest asset manager in the world, and the other one's like the biggest alternative asset manager in the world, whatever that means. So basically, they're huge wealth management, asset management companies, which is just like, yeah, it shows you who they work for. But yeah, you're right. They could make a law that you can't intervene in elections with all this money. I keep hearing on the radio, like NPR, for example, they're talking about like free and fair elections. Oh, they don't have free and fair elections in Russia. They don't have elections in China. But then they're like, oh, but in the United States, we have free and fair elections. And it's like, are they free and fair when the person who spends the most money usually wins? And then this last time, the person who spent $1 billion and was 20 million in the hole didn't even win. And you got to spend all this money just to be elected. Like Dr. West couldn't get any attention because he doesn't have billions of dollars. It very much limited his campaign reach, on the media, and also he wasn't able to be in the debates because he didn't have a high enough polling numbers. But of course, you get polling numbers by getting the attention, which you have to spend all this money to do. So it's not exactly a free and fair election system that we have in the United States.
I can't believe people still listen to NPR. I stopped. Boy, it's been about a 15, 20 year period. I haven't listened to NPR. It's been a long time.
I put it on when I drive to work, but otherwise usually I listen to music. And then today when I got in the car, it was Wait, Don't Tell Me. It was on the radio, so I left that on because they were saying something funny. But yeah, I like to know what the heck they're saying, because I like to know what, unfortunately, a huge group of people is being exposed to, as far as propaganda.
And you think about it, when I said this, when Fatima was on here, that I was glad that Harris lost, and I stand on that because I'm upset that Trump won, because obviously I wanted Dr. West to be the winner, but we know why that didn't happen, right? How do you waste $1 billion? If the West campaign had if they had like not even 10%, if they had 10%, no, that'd be 100 million. If they had 1% of $1 billion, we would have been on way more state balance.
That's true.
How do you waste a bit and you still lose? Like,
yep.
What? Like 5-star hotels no, you better stay at Motel 6. That's what you better do. But that was a point that's leading up to this point. What I'm trying to make this point, and it's not coming out right. I think people need to look at that, because if people realize, hey, there's a widow of some media conglomerate, and I still can't call her name, $90 million.
Right.
I said it before. Think about what you could do with $90 million.
Right.
You could literally almost end homelessness.
I believe it.
You could Get the 5 million children that were recently kicked off of Medicaid in the Biden administration. Yeah, I didn't know that.
No, it's
5
true.
million children lost their benefits under Medicaid, which you already have to be so broke and disgusted to get in the first place. But 5 million children now have no health care.
Yep.
But you can get the Affordable Care Act and it's just as good. It's not. Stop believing those commercials where they tell you can get health care for $4 a month. You cannot. You cannot. You will not.
No. Yeah, Nader calls it Medicare Disadvantage in his little newsletters and other things that he's sending out all the time. I was gonna say that I don't know if you know Shama Sawant, who was the city council person.
Oh, you got to bring her up. Oh, gosh.
Well, I was just gonna say because she wrote an article. I think that's what's cross posted to Counterpunch that said Harris and the Democrats deserve to lose 1,000 times over. So it just made me think of what you were saying about how Harris deserved to lose, and I think definitely a lot of people are feeling that way, that Harris deserved to lose, and that it was her election to lose. She could have actually talked about some of these issues. There was plenty of issues to talk about, but of course she was never going to do that because she's
I think it was you that said that she could have lied about Gaza. She could have just lied.
She could have at least lied about something, but she couldn't even
just say, you know what? Every American's going to get a $250 a month stipend for food.
Right.
Yeah, is she actually going to do it? Nope. But say something. Yeah, they didn't even think of that. They just said, oh, well.
And I think this points to something, is that they're not as comfortable and secure as they would like us to think. I think they're scared about what could happen, even if they just suggest an idea that people could actually start to want more things, that they could demand actual programs and support within society. And so they're not even, their overlords that are paying their way aren't even willing to let them talk about the idea that they could end the genocide, because that would cost these companies have all these weapons.
They want to with us. Like, what is Israel? Like,
well, that and the companies that make all those weapons will be upset because they want to test all those weapons out. They want to make billions of dollars in weapon sales with all these new AI controlled weapon systems and all these new drones and things.
Yep. So Nelson says we need to get behind the truth, justice, and love party agenda. That way we will be ready by 2024, which I think you mean 2026, to move for the betterment of the people. Because we do have congressional races running coming up in 2 years. If we miss this, it's like we're not serious.
We got to get serious, and I agree with you. We have work to do to hold these politicians accountable for the next 2 years, and to also hold them accountable by running people against them in 2 years. I think we need to be using all the tools that are at our disposal, which is why we need as many people involved as possible. If you felt sad about, Kamala losing, fine. Now let's get organized and do something about building the world that we want to see. If you're serious about, about feeling like we're going to lose something from her loss, then get out there and build that.
I'm going to make an amendment to what you just said.
Yeah.
Because there are some people that feel like, yes, they're upset that she lost. But I don't have, and I'm just speaking for me, I don't have use for people that are just, you got to work within the system. You got to work within the party to change the party. I don't believe that.
Right.
I believe people need to leave the Democratic Party. Leave them. They're not going to change. For example, I'll give you an example. 85% of Democratic voters, not me because I'm not a Democrat, of Democratic voters support Medicare for all. The DNC does not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not listening to you. So my caveat is, yeah, they're upset about Kamala or yeah, because you can't get her name wrong because they get an attitude about that.
Get mad about that.
Kamala losing, but they still don't want third parties on the ballot because they feel like that takes away votes.
Right.
So that's my only addition is like, no, you have to realize it's time to work outside the system because they're not going to change.
And we didn't even get to be spoilers this time.
Yeah, because a lot of us
you didn't even get your shirts.
Yeah, a lot of us did something I couldn't understand was why third party voters voted for Harris. I'm like, what? That's who I got side eye for. That's who I got side eye
or didn't vote. I feel like there's people out there that should have been voted for one of the third parties, preferably West, but they didn't even get out and vote. They didn't feel motivated, like there was no there was no real chance or something. We need to so we need to organize in a bunch of different ways. And yeah, one of those ways is to run candidates that are going to challenge the status quo. Again, they have a public area in which they can speak. And I think this is something that Dr. West spoke to a lot, is that, it's not just about winning the election, it's about getting these ideas out there. And that's something he was able to do. And so, I think we may see, if the Democratic Party wants to be relevant at all, they're going to, at least in more local races, they're going to have to take some of these things on, or they're going to basically go away, because
I don't think they want to. Have you heard them? Have you seen interviews with them? I'm like, oh, these nitwits don't know. They don't learn anything good. Don't learn anything. I hope they keep up. I hope they stay the course. Don't change anything.
Literally. I'm going to be having a debate on this on my show.
Don't change a darn thing, because
and you're going to be in that debate, Tracy.
Yes, I am, because
you have perspectives on this.
Don't you? No, you know what? Keep doing the same thing that you're doing. Keep taking money from PACs. Keep going into office, getting in the office, and saying you're gonna bring ruckus, and then you end up calling Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear. Just keep doing it. Keep doing. I want you to keep doing it.
Yeah. Because they're going to drive more people away, and then we've got them for third parties, and we've got them for organizing.
Point. And never mentioned that the Green Party got her into office, but hey, it's just me. I don't want to be that person.
Well, not to mention, Trump donated $5,000 to her campaign for AG of California or whatever, right? So it's like, these people
AOC or Harris?
No, Kamala, when she was AG of Harris. He donated to her campaign.
I was like, he donated $5,000 to who?
No, he donated $5,000 to Kamala.
When she made run for governor of California.
She was running when she was running in the California. Was it governor? I thought it was maybe her AG campaign.
Attorney general or senator. Because those are
it was her AG. It was her AG campaign, I think.
Had to be.
Attorney general, yeah.
But she may run for governor.
But yeah, it's like these people are in one big club and we aren't in it. So we got to, we got to create our own club.
I want you to keep doing it, because I want regular, ordinary day folks to realize, oh, no, they not for me.
Right.
And Nelson said exactly. The Democratic Party don't care they lost, because they know nothing is going to change under the Republican rule, and they will make it part of their 2028 campaign speaking. Exactly. They know, like, what was when you run as a change candidate, Harris, I'm just going to call her VP Harris, because again, y'all get a real attitude about her. Yeah, whatever. So when you run as a candidate for change, somebody asks you how you're going to change from the Biden administration, and then you say, oh, there's nothing I would change. Do I look
Superman on that? Nothing's going to change. That was what Biden said too. He said, nothing is going to fundamentally change.
But he didn't run as a change candidate. She ran as a change candidate.
And she still didn't say anything, said nothing was going to change.
And then she said nothing's going to change. It's like,
it's pathetic.
I still think that they wanted to lose. I did a whole video on that. It got 3 views. I see why. Because nobody wants to listen.
It's possible.
Because I'm like, this party literally, you pick an issue. Pick any issue. Minimum wage. Did they put minimum wage anywhere? I prefer living wage. But did they say, you know what?
Right.
It should be. No, when $15 minimum wage got voted down, thanks to the help of 8 Democrats, because y'all just never remember that, they blamed the parliamentarian.
Well, it's like
And
I
people
guess that's
bought
what
this.
we need to figure out is whether it's whether it's that they want to lose or whether it's that they're afraid, like I said, to even bring these issues up because they're afraid that they'll be so popular, people will actually push to get them, and that we'll actually get some of these things. I think we can get some of these things, and I think we can get some of these things even under Trump. Again, like you said, if we push hard enough, that he may cave pretty easily on certain issues.
Oh, he'll cave. He's
If we
gonna
pick
cave.
the issues and how we talk about them, yeah,
I
I
think
think it's
he's
quite
gonna
possible.
cave. I don't see as much as Elon Musk wants it. How did he even
Uh,
become a thing? Social Security is not going anywhere. You think people will not stand for that?
I hope you're right. I always hope that people are going to mobilize around these issues, and sometimes I'm surprised when they don't, and sometimes they do. It just depends on how it happens. They're sneaky too. They can be sneaky with this stuff and really get you. But hopefully, if they try to do something really stupid, it's quite possible they could get a big backlash against it, and that could actually, we could even get something out of that. We could even get extra out of that if we use that backlash to the advantage of our side, which is, working people and poor people. We can actually use that to our advantage. We can actually organize around that. When they try to push this stuff, we need to be ready to push back. So I hope we are.
Yeah.
I
Because
am.
I'm hopeful, but like I said, I wish I knew how to tell people better. Hey, they don't care. They don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like you. They don't care about you. Look at what they do when they're in office. When you go into Congress, you could come out, you go in poor, and somehow you're coming out a millionaire. That make it make sense.
Right. I think you were you were saying something about was it on this, a bad relationship or something like that, or like, it's like an abusive relationship or something. It's like people can't even admit that they've been in this situation for so long, and they've been lied to for so long by the Democratic Party, and they've been tricked by the Democratic Party for so long. It's just hard to admit that that the Democratic Party is not on your side, and you've been kind of believing in it for so long. That could be really hard for people to admit.
Nick Nelson says, as long as Republican and Democratic Party continue to divide the people and their vote, they will continue to control everything. And that's why we need the Justice for All Party. We need to be, I don't care if it's for a trash compactor. If it's an election, we need to be in it. I don't care if it's an election for school board, which I think that would make a significant difference because school boards. If it's an office and nobody's running for it, run as a justice for all candidate. If you want information about Justice for All, just go to the CornelWest2024.com website. And the reason I'm rushing this is because I said I was going to talk about some of the top moments of
top 10.
Yes, it may not be 10, but we're going to go for them.
Top 8.
Yeah, so you all know that September 2023, I started a podcast called Congratulations to the 47th President of the United States, Dr. Cornel West. And I was just going to get on there and talk, me by myself, talking to people about why should they vote for Dr. West. After seeing the first episode, I was like, oh no, absolutely not. This is not going to work. So I said, I'm just going to find Cornel West supporters. And that's what I did. Over that course of time, I have interviewed some fantastic people, Nick included.
Well, thank you.
And there have been some top moments. Obviously, top moment was Dr. West actually appearing on the show. That's the number one. That's just number one, not to degrade everybody else, but when the candidate actually appears on your show and you weren't expecting it, and that was never my goal. My goal was not to say that I wouldn't have had him on, but that was never my goal going into it. And to have him on, I watch that interview like all the time. I'm like, I can't believe this actually happened.
That's fabulous, Tracy. That was a great show. And it was a great discussion too.
Yeah, and I've had some repeat guests. I know Robin has been on at least 20,000 times. And I know when I call her, she's like, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." But like I said, I've had some just fantastic guests, fabulous, fantastic. They give me. I think Fatima stands out because she asked a question of how bad do you want it, and I keep
Right.
thinking about that. It's like, how bad do I want the change that I say that I want? What am I willing to do to make the changes that I want? Um, a whole lot of smart people, came across this platform, and it's I don't want to start getting teary-eyed, but this is one of the few things that I got right. I've had videos that have had like one view, and that was me. That was me.
It happens. That's how it goes sometimes.
But this show, even with the trolls, that's one of the highlights of this show. Oh, wait a minute. Nelson says, having Dr. West on your show, Tracy, was definitely wonderful. Yeah, that's the top. That's just number one. There's nothing that can come, like I said, appreciate all the guests that have come. But the candidate himself coming, when you didn't expect, I literally would tell people, he's not coming on the show. He's not going to ever come on the show. Get out your mind. Stop thinking it. It won't happen. And then it actually did happen. Yep. I've had this is, like I said, this is one of the few things I've gotten right. That I knew that there's a movement for a better way. And
I think that Dr. West show was really a good chance to give Dr. West a chance to talk about some of the things he wanted to talk about too, because a lot of times on all the other shows doesn't necessarily always touch on all the things I think he would like a chance to talk about. And I think he had a bigger space to do some of that on your show, Tracy. So that was really good.
I was nervous. I was just like, and there's some things I didn't ask because I only knew. I'm like, okay, I got this hour. What am I going to ask?
Right.
But some people, the trolls have to be my favorite. And let me tell you why the trolls coming in saying you're giving the election to Trump. Why was that my favorite one? They got me more views on some of my videos than I've ever got. I'm like, thank you. I want to thank you. Come back next week. Because next week, and it made me sharpen my own arguments about why it was that I was voting for Dr. West. So they did two things. Not only did they make my views go up, which again, they don't know how grateful. I will always be thankful to the trolls, always be thankful to them. But it really made me think, well, why am I voting for Dr. West? Not just because he's black and I'm black, but because, well, one, he's consistent.
Yeah.
And consistency to me is paramount. Don't say you're a change candidate and come out here. I wouldn't change a thing. Don't come out here and say, like, mimic oral sex with a microphone. I don't need that. Don't say, well, they're over there, so I don't really care what happens to them as long as me and mine are okay. No.
And Dr. West has a good analysis too of why things are going on the way they are, what's creating the problem, and why it's not being addressed. And I think that's another piece that really is the reason that Cornel West was the candidate that I chose to get behind in the election.
Yeah.
He's been doing this a long time, and he knows what's going on.
Yeah, and I think I've gained so many cousins. I guess that's what I call all my guests. All my guests are now my cousins.
I like that.
Because I feel like we are family.
We got to get together. We got to have these conversations. Like you said, it strengthens our, it sharpens our arguments. We got to be talking to each other, getting on a call with people and just talking about stuff is good. It's important whether you put it on YouTube or not. Even if it's just getting together with your neighbors to talk about stuff, your family. I mean, just depending on who it is and how comfortable you are talking about different issues. Like, you know, if you feel like you could have a conversation about it, it's a good idea to get on there and figure out where everybody's at, you know, what they're thinking, why they're thinking what they're thinking. You know, I think it's possible for us to get organized. I think people are looking for ideas at this point. They're looking for ways that they can do something. So we should try to provide that for the people around us. And you're doing a good job there, Tracy, to connect different
Oh, I
people
love to
across the
think
country.
so. I would love to think I'm doing a great job, but
I appreciate you, Tracy.
well, thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate people watching.
yeah.
You know, we've been all over the map tonight in terms of what we've talked about. And I'll let Nick say what he wants to say in the final words, and then I'll come back and kind of tie this whole thing together.
Yeah, I mean, in final words, I would just encourage people to, you know, plug in where you can. You know, don't overload yourself with too many things. And you know, listen to my podcast, Socialist News and Views. You can listen to it on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple. I think I kind of help people find a way where they could potentially plug in, cover different organizations, different things that are going on. And I think that's a good way to find out what's going on. And if you hear something on the show that you're like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting, or I could see myself getting really passionate about that. I mean, that's where you need to plug in, figure out what you can do best, and plug in your community and make a difference. And, you know, if you want to get involved in the Justice for All Party, I think that's a good way to plug in too. There's gonna be a lot of things going on, elections, but also, you know, serving the community is a piece of that. So if we can get something like that going, that would be a fantastic addition to any community.
I'm gonna leave it off by quoting Fatima again. How bad do you want it? How bad? Like, we see the system, it's not working. Anybody that says we have this great democracy, first of all, we don't have one. We have an oligarchy that's controlled by big money interests. We don't have a democracy. You know the system isn't working. The Democrats don't care about you. The Republicans don't care about you. They care about dollars. Be active in your community. I say get involved with the Justice for All Party, because not only are we talking about, you know, electing people, we're talking about community service, a mutual aid. You don't see parties talking about mutual aid and direct actions a lot. So I would say that it's like how you have to decide that you want things to change. And until you do, you're going to see a whole lot of cuts and a whole lot of prices go up and a whole lot of things that shouldn't be. So I know this will be the last episode of the show that has changed titles at least twice. And so the next time you'll see me on Saturday is just my 4:00 show. We had a really interesting topic this afternoon, so go back and watch it. I'm not going to say it on here, but we ranked Hanna-Barbera cartoons. But you will not see a Saturday 7:00 show until March 1st. There are 70 days until the Justice is Here podcast is on the air and talking to people all across the nation about what their Justice for All parties are doing. And remember not to advertise for Indiana, but we are doing a Medicare for All March, July
Nice.
26, 2025, Indianapolis, Indiana. So we'll start working on that. We hope others will join us across the country, but that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to take us down. Remember to like this video, share this video, subscribe. I need 3 more. Just 3 people.
and go over to Rumble too.
Yes, please go
YouTube,
to Rumble.
Rumble.
We want to put this show on as many platforms as possible. That's the goal. And I need your help to do it, because I'm running out of email addresses to use. So just basically, just subscribe. I'm going to take Nick down. I'm going to take myself down, play the outro. No, thank you. Thank you for coming on here and watching me go all over the page in terms of what I discussed. But we'll see you. I'll see you December the 25th for my Christmas show at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 hour and maybe some minutes. But if you're by yourself, Christmas, you're feeling a little bit down, promise the show is going to be hilarious. I plan on talking about hilarious things and kind of wrapping it up with what the real meaning of Christmas is. So be sure to tune into that. Be sure to tune in to the New Year's Eve show, which I've done for the past 3 years. 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to count down to 2025.
Nice.
And go from there.
I'm going to try to tune in.
God, thank you. I want to thank everybody. Have a good evening. I'm taking us down to playing the outro.